Thank you for being here today. This is an exciting opportunity for the Tax Foundation and the Hayek Institute to talk about this report that we are releasing today on tax reform for growth in Austria. Just a little bit about the Tax Foundation. The Tax Foundation was founded in 1937 as a research institute focused on tax policy in the United States. Since that time, we have done multiple studies on U.S. tax policy at the federal level, at the state level, and for the last 5 years we have been doing studies comparing tax systems of OECD countries. So we now have policy research products for countries around the world. I'm director of global projects, and this is the start, in a way, of country by country studies that the Tax Foundation will be developing over the coming years. So today I want to start with kind of the context for how Tax Foundation views different tax systems, the tools that we use to analyze tax systems, and the context for Austria as we're approaching what looks like a good opportunity for tax reform. So taxes can affect economic growth in many ways. Individual choices, business choices, the government revenues and how they're spent. They can all interact with economic growth in different ways. But the main ways that taxes impact economic growth are through the cost of capital, the cost of investing and being able to get a rate of return from an investment by a business, whether you're building a factory or opening a new shop. The cost of borrowing or getting capital to build that business is impacted by tax policy. Similarly, the cost of labor, whether you're hiring workers or whether you're deciding to work or not to work, tax policy can influence those decisions so that the capital stock, the available amount of capital in the economy, or the labor supply, the available amount of labor in the economy, directly influence economic growth over the long term. And we know from research at the OECD that different taxes impact economic growth in different ways, with the corporate income tax being the most harmful for growth, personal income taxes being the second most harmful, and consumption taxes and property taxes less harmful for growth. Consumption taxes, a well-designed VAT system, can be the most efficient way not only to raise revenue, but to minimize distortions in the economy. Whereas decisions by businesses or individuals can be directly impacted by policies in corporate and personal income taxes. So the International Tax Competitiveness Index that the Tax Foundation produces, like I said, we've done it for 5 years, looks at corporate taxes, individual income taxes, consumption taxes, property taxes, and international tax rules, the treatment of profits earned overseas, to determine whether a tax code is competitive relative to other countries and whether it's neutral relative to business decisions. You don't want to have a tax code that distorts a business's decision of when to build a factory or when to set up a new shop, or whether or not they will do so at all, or whether they'll do it in your country or in another country. You want to minimize those distortions in decisions. Tax should not be a key variable in these decisions. People should be making decisions based on their welfare rather than, oh no, the government's going to be taking an extra dollar out of my pay, or extra euro out of my paycheck. So the 2018 International Tax Competitiveness Index rankings for Europe are shown on the screen. You can see Austria, they're ranked number 10. Out of 35 OECD countries. Neighboring countries of Czech Republic, Slovakia at number 9 and number 11. So it's a kind of a neck and neck race in a bit here in Central Europe. The most competitive countries on the index are Estonia, Latvia, New Zealand, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. And something that these tax codes have in common is that they have strengths in more than one area of tax. Not just good corporate tax systems or individual income tax systems, but for Estonia and Latvia, it's pretty much across the board. They have strong tax systems. And Estonia and Latvia have unique corporate income tax systems where they only tax profits when they are distributed to shareholders and do not tax reinvested earnings. So if you're a business and you want to expand your business by building another factory or opening another shop, and you reinvest your profits in your business, there's no corporate tax on that. Only when you turn those profits to your shareholders in the form of dividends or some other payout would you face a tax. Now, the least competitive countries are Chile, Portugal, Poland, Italy, and France, and they all have multiple layers of distortions, both on the design of their tax system with multiple layers of tax on similar types of income, or difficult administrative systems where it's difficult to comply with the tax system. Now for Austria, over the last 5 years, the overall rank for the country has improved from 16th in 2014 to 10th overall in 2018, but you can see on corporate taxes and individual income taxes, there are some opportunities for improvement, right? 15th on corporate income taxes and 21st on personal income taxes. Now, on corporate income taxes, there's two key pieces to this. This is the way for almost all tax policy. You have to pay attention to the rate, but also attention to the base. On the rate, the corporate tax rate in Austria has remained 25% for a little more than a decade, and is now the third highest among its neighbors, with Italy and Germany having higher corporate tax rates. But in this region, there's a wide variety of corporate tax rates. You have all the way down to Austria's neighbor Hungary at 9%, and then the rate in Germany that includes the municipal trade taxes at 29%. And Austria there in the upper half of the distribution. Like I said, there's the rate, and then there's the tax base. And the tax base for corporations, for businesses, includes capital allowances, write-offs for investment. Austria provides less than 2/3 of the net present value of investment to be written off. And this includes an average of buildings or machinery or intellectual property. So this is kind of an aggregate measure for what can be written off over time. So if you have a machine that has a depreciation schedule and you have to deduct the same amount of that machine over a set time period, you may not get the full value of that investment because of the time value of money. Inflation may erode the value of that deduction over time. And first-year write-offs can be a significant variable in this, where you have businesses being able to write off a set amount of first-year write-offs. And the issue here in Austria is that current amount is rather low relative to what other countries have. On the individual income tax, this chart shows the tax wedge for different types of workers. You have single workers on the left-hand side, and then you have a married couple with one average wage earner and has 2 children. So the tax code treats these taxpayers differently for lots of reasons, but the point to make from this slide is that Austria stands out with a higher tax wedge than its neighbors or the OECD average. And this tax wedge is representative of the gross earnings that an individual would receive in wages, less the taxes from those gross earnings. So for the single average wage worker, nearly half of their gross earnings are taken up in taxes or social security contributions. And then for the married couple with one average wage earner and 2 children, it's nearly a little bit more than a third of their earnings that are taken away as taxes. And Kai is going to go into some of the examples of policy options for reform that we think would move Austria into a more competitive position, particularly in these 2 policy areas of corporate income taxes and personal income taxes. So Kai, and we'll transition back to German.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Daniel.